everybody. My name is Bill Amirault, and I want to welcome you to Career Clarity and Purpose in this live and recorded event today. My panel of 14 experts are revealing their strategies to provide career clarity that's aligned with your true purpose. Was your life and career impacted by COVID? Have you been downsized, right-sized, reorged, rift, let go, or otherwise separated? For what it's worth, I've experienced all of those and some more than once. Or maybe you're part of the Great Resignation, or you realized or decided that something else might be better for you. Now, in this conversation, I'm glad to welcome my friend and colleague, Lynne Williams, who will speak to exactly that and some of her other experiences, both personally and with clients. And Lynne, just want to welcome you here today. Thanks for taking the time.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
And I will say that Lynne has a very solid background in every aspect of using LinkedIn and ATS-friendly resumes. She's worked with hundreds of clients through the years, and she's a founder and supporter of a variety of networking groups, both in Eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey, which is how she and I met a few years ago. I've seen you present several times, and I'm just really glad that you could be here today. So let me move this so that you can screen share. And today's topic, how to replace fear with confidence for your purpose-driven career on LinkedIn. This is right on target, yes. So hold on, I'm going to invite somebody else in, and you may have to do that now too, because I've made you the host.
Yep.
So you can invite or let them in. So
I got that. I do it all the time. I'm on Zoom pretty much every day, almost all day.
yeah,
So,
understood.
No worries. So I am so delighted to be here. I'd asked Bill if I could do something different rather than just talk. I'd rather show. I'd rather demo some things that will be helpful to you as takeaways and things that you can do to your LinkedIn profile. So, did you want to start with any, general questions that you had sent me, or you want me to just go for it?
Yeah, let me do this. Let me just set up what you're doing with what your experience has been and how the different career transitions that you've been through have created the space and the context of what you're doing right now.
Okay.
So just go with that and just, go ahead.
Okay. So I think one of the questions that you had asked is describe what careers you've had. So I have had careers in the corporate world, in the nonprofit world, in the entrepreneurial world, and in the world of education. I have not worked for government entities. So I have done career pivots in 7 different industries within those 4 categories. So I kind of come to the table with quite a bit of different and varied business acumen. And to me, that's probably helpful to the clients that I serve, who a lot of them want to do career pivots, or they want to do a career advancement. You never know. So what I wanted to show you was, how you can do that on LinkedIn. And I heard Donna say a few minutes ago about having a one type of resume, what was it, sequential resume versus a skills-based resume.
Right.
Well, I think you can do both. So you just have to position yourself with your future forward, with where you're going. Now, I know there's lots of different, LinkedIn coaches out there and lots of different resume coaches out there. If you were to ask 10 resume writers how to write a resume, you're going to get 20 different answers. Yeah. Same thing if you ask 20 different LinkedIn writers how to do a LinkedIn profile, you'll get 40 different answers. So there's no one right way or wrong way. Everybody has their own techniques to share and things that are successful. So I'm going to share what I do. Personally, I think if you're looking for a job or you want to advance in your career, I believe your resume and your LinkedIn profile need to be in sync. I'm going to call that a base resume. But I don't think you should be putting a resume on your LinkedIn profile like as an attachment because it's not customized to a particular job. I believe you should customize and tailor your resume to each and every job you want to apply to. However, if you don't do the research, to get a good solid foundational base resume, you may be missing out on understanding, the whole keyword scenario for both platforms on applicant tracking systems as well as the LinkedIn platform. So when I work with people on resumes, I get them to a good solid base resume, but all the keywords are based upon the keywords in LinkedIn's database.
Yes,
right?
Understood.
Okay.
Words that sell, very important.
Yep. So everybody has their own unique background and skills and abilities. And, there's lots of transferable skills in there, but you also have to position yourself with your future forward. So with that, I am going to first put a couple links into the chat, and then I'm going to share my screen. So give me a second here. All right, so that is my LinkedIn profile. Please feel free to reach out and connect. And right under my picture on my LinkedIn profile is my link tree. That is full of lots of goodness and links. It's a link of links, basically. I'm also going to suggest that you subscribe to my weekly newsletter, because there's lots of gems that I share that help different people who are in career mode, not retired mode, but career mode. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen now.
You're making my job really easy, Lynn. I just have to watch now. This is good.
There you go. There you go. Hang on. I got to move this Zoom screen out of the way. And let me make this screen a little bit bigger. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, and hang on, I got to get my chat up because I'm going to put some links in the chat as I go. All right. Moving screens around here. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take you to somebody's profile. And this lady was actually my inspiration for one of my articles. So I just looked up randomly on LinkedIn, integrated digital marketing professional. I put those keywords in the search bar, and this is a person that came up.
Which, by the way, is what recruiters do when they're looking for people to fill different positions. Just
exactly. They're looking for keywords.
Correct.
So when I looked at her profile, here she is, local to me in the greater Philadelphia area. And I go down and I'm reading her profile, and she's talking about how well she has gotten engagement and whatnot, metrics for her company. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. She's doing great things. And then I'm sitting here thinking, well, how does she become memorable on LinkedIn? Will I remember her name? Will I remember the spelling of her name? How does she differentiate and distinguish herself to make herself an outstanding integrated digital marketing professional? So I actually wrote an article. I didn't call her out in the article, but here is the article that I wrote. And I'm going to just pull that up.
There is some low-hanging fruit in design products, design of the algorithms.
Somebody's got.
Somebody's not on mute. Yeah, you can mute them, Lynn.
I will do that. Hang on, I got to get the.
I don't know how many of you have teenagers. Or not.
Okay.
Um,
Give me a second.
I'm trying.
There we go.
All right. And I think I've got everybody muted now. Okay, except for Bill. All right. So here's one of the articles I wrote. So Career News Today, that is the newsletter I put out on LinkedIn every week. I also put my articles on the Great Careers website, but it all stems from 4 online news magazines that I write for. And that usually gets published every Friday. He's got about 100,000 subscribers. So I just put my content out on a whole bunch of different platforms, and that's probably why I sort of exist with just my LinkedIn profile. I don't have a website, not for myself, just for the nonprofit.
Right.
So here is the analysis that I'm going to show you live demo for this lady's profile. You saw that she had a different spelling of a name, that, you know, it's not something simple that I could remember. So when I ran her headline through a scoring, I got some low scores. And if you want to think of this as a traffic light, green, yellow, red, you don't want red, and you try not to get yellow, but you know, if you can get green or at least a high yellow, almost green, then that would be beneficial to you, so you can make yourself memorable. So what is that link? So here it is right here. Actually, I'll grab it from here because that one has a period after it. I'll put this in the chat. It's called share through. So I just want to show you how this works. So it's headlines.sharethrough.com. So if I take her integrated digital marketing professional, which is on her LinkedIn profile now, and I put it in the share through, and I'm going to see what kind of score I get. I get a red 38 overall score. I get a yellow engagement score of 62, and I get a 15 impression score of red. And this platform actually gives you tips on how you can make this better. So going down a rabbit hole, I was playing with different headlines, and I put it through share through. So I'm just going to take you to the last one just to show you what I got.
Is that your best score? It looks like.
It's the best one that I took, but I mean, I could have gone down other rabbit holes,
Right.
but you know, I only have so much time. So I wasn't going for perfection. I was going for improvement in this case.
Exactly.
So here we've got integrated digital marketing professional, and I probably would have put a pipe in there. What does she do? Social media, email marketing, SEM, SEO, web services, graphic designer, Google Analytics. Now, she talked about conversions and engagements on her LinkedIn profile. So conversions and engagements better than hot buttery popcorn at the movies. Now, are you going to remember hot buttery popcorn if you can't remember how to spell her name? Or, you know, integrated digital marketing professional, what's the memory dart that you can create on your profile so somebody remembers you? So let's analyze this again. See, it's 213 characters, so it's less than 220. So now we get an overall score of 80, which is green. We get a 65 engagement score. 70 would make it green. So that's, you know, middle of the road, high 60s, but an impression score of 100. So how did this start? Well, I'm going to share with you, there's a gentleman who was looking for this guy's headline title, and it has a little bit different connotation in Urban Dictionary. This guy's from Wales, and I have the utmost respect for him. I'm part of his community. So his name is John Asperian, and the guy didn't remember the John's name, but he remembered douche canoe.
Oh,
So when
geez.
I go on to John's profile, he says, not a douche canoe. So John has made himself memorable by putting that in his headline, and that made an impression. So there's a guy, his name is Steve Woodruff. And he wrote about a memory dart, which is something for a 15-second elevator pitch. So I will put this link in the chat also. And this is really what got me thinking. A lot of people go on and on and on when they're introducing themselves, and it's hard to remember them, right? So you want to, get your name in, and then you want to say something that creates a vivid image in somebody's mind, and then you say your name again, right? So that they remember you for something. Now, that's for an elevator pitch, but can't that apply to a LinkedIn headline too? How can you make yourself memorable? And then how can you run your headline through a headline analyzer? So before I move on to another topic, does anybody have any questions that I can answer? All right. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to show people about how to look for keywords. I believe in keywords. LinkedIn is a database, and I believe in data-driven decision-making. So for those of you who don't know me, I guess, let me tell you the three main hats that I wear. I wear lots of other little hats, but the first thing is I write resumes and LinkedIn profiles, and I base everything on keywords. Number two is I'm the executive director of the Great Careers Group. So we are a large networking organization, and we do everything online. We run about 600 events a year. So I'll show you that in a little bit. But the third thing is I am working on my doctoral dissertation on LinkedIn for job seekers. And so I have a very keen interest in the job seeking community, and especially on LinkedIn. So if you take the jobs tab on LinkedIn and you click on that, I'm going to show my standard example. And for those of you who are my groupies, you've seen this so many times. But let's say you are a project manager. Okay, I'm going to mute some people. Hold on. Okay. And I'm going to put in Greater Philadelphia because that's where I'm located. You can see that there are 14,715 jobs that are available for project manager. But let's check out project management. You want to think of these keywords with synonyms. So let's check out project management. That has 38,995 results. So that's way more than project manager. So you want to make sure that, you're doing a kind of an art and a science with your keywords on LinkedIn. One of my most favorite expressions from a professor at Penn State Great Valley, where I took my content marketing analytics certificate, was that it's riches in niches. So if you think about a pie, you want to have a little sliver of the pie that is your niche, but you also have to have the big part of the pie with keywords that are generic so that you can get found on LinkedIn. Why? Because there are recruiters that have the recruiter platform on LinkedIn. They pay a lot of money for that. There are other recruiters that have recruiter light platform on LinkedIn. And then there's other recruiters who are smaller recruiters. They don't pay for those platforms because they're very expensive. So what do? They do something called a Boolean search.
Yep.
So I'm going to go to greatcareers.org. This is the nonprofit. And you could go in the top right of this platform for the search bar. And you can put in any keyword you want, because I've written almost 200 articles on here. And then we've had guests who have also written articles. So let me put in Boolean. And then this particular article has stellar Boolean search tips for job seekers and entrepreneurs. So this is a technique that a recruiter can use if they're a smaller recruiter, if they're looking for somebody and they're using the keywords that are necessary for the job. So are you familiar with this, Bill?
Yes, and I also use the Boolean logic phrase with my two brothers who were having an argument about something. I said, by Boolean logic, either one of you is wrong or both of you is wrong. You can't both be right. So it was kind of interesting. Anyway, continue.
So, you know, Boolean is not just for LinkedIn. So you can do search for people on LinkedIn using a Boolean search. You can also search for people on Google for someone on LinkedIn. But because I, come from an academic background, when I'm doing research for, my writings, Boolean is for the internet. But, this particular discussion today is about LinkedIn. So here's some tips for job seekers. Keywords are essential. Think like Google, etc. All right. Now, we just looked up project manager and project management using the jobs tab on LinkedIn. I want to take that a step further, and I want to show you what that looks like on Google Trends. I put that link in the chat. So if I want to search project manager, and then I want to compare it as soon as it pops up here, I'm going to compare it to project management. So this is what's being searched on Google, not LinkedIn. So you can see clearly from the line graph and the bar chart that in the United States over the past year, project management is being searched more than project management. But, I told you that I live in the greater Philadelphia area. So I'm going to type in Philadelphia. And if I was on the Delaware side, as in Wilmington, I could click on this first DE one. If I was on the Cherry Hill side, I'd click on the New Jersey one. Or here, I'm in the Pennsylvania side, so I'm going to click on Pennsylvania one. Well, still, we're showing red is still more than blue. But it's been a weird couple years or so. So I want to see what's more current. Let's look at the past 90 days. So I can actually go down and choose 90 days. And let's get a gander on what's going on here. Well, still, it's up and down and up and down, but project management still is being searched more than project manager. So what if you were in accounting? Okay. Would you want to use budgets, or budgeting? So let's just take that example. And what happens if one word is better on LinkedIn, but the job description says another version or another synonym of that word? So let's look up budgeting first. I'm going to tab over, stick with greater Philadelphia area, and I'm going to click search. Well, there's 14,950 jobs. All right. Let's choose budgets and let's look that up. There's 18,070 jobs. But what if I just wanted plain old budget? There's 22,256 jobs. So do you see the importance of keywords on LinkedIn? I'm going to tell you where I put keywords. And let me get to my profile. All right, finally popped up. So your headline is, in my opinion, Manhattan real estate. That's where you want to make sure that you put keywords for your future forward, not for the job you have, unless it's the same type of job you want to go to. You also need to put in something which I'm going to call a USP, unique selling proposition. This is that whole scenario I just showed you with the share through headline analyzer, so that you differentiate yourself in some way, shape, or form with a vivid image to make yourself memorable. So I'm a boomer. I love technology. And so, I like to cheer people on when they learn new tech skills, especially, if you're of my vintage. Now, the second place that I think is important for keywords is in the about section. And when people have paragraph upon paragraph in their about section, my eyes glaze over. I don't read that stuff. I don't have time to read everybody's stuff. I will occasionally read, but for the most part, I just want to get a handle on people. And so, anything that's, short and sweet, I'll read. And then I put typically categories, like career highlights or core competencies, and bullet points. Now, these bullet points are not coming from Google Docs. They're coming from a Word document copied and pasted, so that they're smaller, petite type of bullets. And I just think it looks better. But I do put a long list of core competencies, and these are all research words, or in my case, they're the words that I care to share for myself. But I help clients get to that list of keywords, and notice that they're all in alphabetical order. Why? Well, you got a human being who's looking at your profile, who's a hiring manager. You've just made that list easy for them to process, so that, they're thinking about their must-haves, then their nice-to-haves. Oh, he or she also has, right? So they're there for the bots, but they're also there for human beings. Any questions? All right, moving on. The third place I put keywords is in the embellished job titles. In case you didn't know, you can embellish your job titles up to 100 characters. Now, LinkedIn is a database, and there have been different thoughts on just putting the actual title. What if you are a chief happiness officer? What the heck is that, right? So that's some fangled title that a company came up with. So if you want to go with that, maybe somebody else is looking for a chief happiness officer. That's great. But, I'm on the fence about either having your real title only, but I tend more to having these embellished titles. And I'll tell you why. I had a client in February of this year, and one night we were crazy. We were up till 2:00 in the morning working on his keywords. So all I did was walk him through how to do his headline and his first embellished job title. Nothing else. Hadn't done a resume, hadn't given him any other content for his LinkedIn. What happens? 2 to 3 days after his profile gets done, or with just those 2 items, he got a call from a recruiter who was looking for latency and co-location as keywords. 3 weeks later, he had somebody fly in from Europe to have lunch with him to talk about a position. He's working, he's still with the same company. But the fact of the matter is, one of the words was in his headline and 2 of the words were in his embellished job title. So as far as I'm concerned, I believe that these embellished job titles work.
So basically you're saying that your time till 2 in the morning was worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, he was thrilled. He couldn't believe it because all we had done was, all he had done was change 2 things. Like we worked on it, and then I copied and pasted it into the chat, and he popped that in his profile, and magic happened. I've had other clients. I mean, if you look at my recommendations, I've had other clients land jobs because their profile was optimized, and they listened to me when I said you need to publish on LinkedIn, you need to engage on other people's posts, right?
Well, as you're saying this, for what it's worth, I went through a similar online app, let's call it, to create the headline for this whole series today. And where I ended up, and this was after about, I don't know, 15, 18 different iterations, experts reveal strategies for creating career clarity aligned with your true purpose. So, there were several iterations. When I finally got to that, I got a decent enough score. It wasn't an 80, but it was close. And it made it so that, and then career clarity and purpose as the quick title also worked as well. So these are actually really valuable, not just for making the quote unquote machine work for you or the app work for you, but in real conversations. Because if you say words, if you use words that are more aligned with what the person who you're interested in speaking with is looking for, you've just hit the magic red button.
Amen. Yep. Amen. So I just typed in headline in the greatcareers.org website. So here's the article I just showed you, but here's, how to write good headlines for LinkedIn articles. It doesn't mean just LinkedIn articles. This is for blogs. You could try and put event titles and whatnot in it. So if you click on this article, you're going to see share through in here, but you're going to see a whole bunch of other different headline analyzers. So on this particular website, I'm a WordPress geek. So I go into the back end and I understand, the meta tags and meta descriptions and whatnot. I learned during the pandemic, I learned a little bit about how to build SEO. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of goes along with what I teach for LinkedIn. So it's all about keywords. And I've seen many career coaches, well, not many, a few career coaches who have blasted me about beat the bots, right? Because I wrote a chapter in a book with Dick Bowles and 15 other career coaches on the applicant tracking system. But it's not to beat the bots, it's to actually optimize, with keywords for a resume and for a LinkedIn profile. So they can blast me all they want about my marketing words that somebody else actually came up with for me. But all I know is, what I do has helped lots and lots of people. So that's what's important. That's the bottom line.
Well, as you're saying this, you can call it beat the bots, or you can call it find a human, because there are a lot of cases where a human won't see it until you actually do beat the bots, and it's a relevant skill set to have. And if it allows you, this goes into other phases of job search. If somebody finds their way to me because they network their way into people who happen to know me, and I can understand what their forensics were all about and their dedication and intention associated with it, that person's going to get some points. Okay, in other words, if they're, and so the same way that you've just described this skill set for an online type situation, if people do it individually, I say individually, but as part of the networking outreach, and use the same level of deductive reasoning, forensics, connect to connect to connect and type of thing, I'm good with that. I mean, that just makes perfect sense, because it also shows that that's what you would do when you're on the job. Is if there's something that is in your way, you're going to figure out a way around it, through it, over it, or
Yep.
you know, or to dismiss it in one way or another. And those are all great skills.
Yeah, so there, to me, there's a lot of transferable skills from
Right.
building websites to LinkedIn, because isn't LinkedIn a website, right?
100%. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, if you want to learn more, here's Paul Sakala. He's running his LGBTQ group. Somebody mentioned earlier about age discrimination, so I've got a speaker coming up on that. Oh, here, Ken Schure's doing overcoming age discrimination, and so on and so forth. But my workshops, I know you're not maybe gonna believe this, but okay. Oh, so here's this image that I created.
Hmm.
Here I am, tips to optimize your LinkedIn profile. So that's coming up December 6th.
Hmm.
But if you go to my profile, I shared that link tree already, right?
Right.
So I want to just show people where to find some of those goodies in there.
Well, and as you say this, you use this as your quote unquote website, because it has so much information, and people can,
Absolutely.
by clicking on your link tree, they can find anything else they want to know about you as well, or about what you're familiar with, or what you're
Right.
posting, by doing exactly what you're doing now. Yep.
So here it is right here. Here's my link tree. I'm clicking on that. And then I'll show you this link tree for the great careers in just a hot minute. But here's my upcoming speaking events. And there's some goodies that I put in here just for today. I thought it'd just be easier for people to access some of these things. So give me a minute. It's processing.
And while you're doing that, Lynn, just to
Yeah.
note, some of the stuff that was said earlier today, and I'm sure will be expanded upon, is posting LinkedIn. If you're nervous about it, I mean, Ken Lang spoke about this. Comment on people's posts,
Amen.
create connections. Even if they're kind of loose connections at first, they become much tighter. You and I would never have met if it weren't for LinkedIn, and I saw a couple of your presentations. And Ken wouldn't be where he is right now if he hadn't dug
Yeah.
in like you have, related to all the nuts and bolts that LinkedIn can provide to create this overall, hey, this is the quote unquote branding. This is what Lynn offers. This is what Ken offers, and everybody else who's been on
Yeah.
this Zoom call here today as well.
Bless you, whoever just sneezed here. Let me
Salute from a distance.
mute
Yeah,
them. Okay, so when I am speaking, I will share that on
right.
the Great Careers platform and whatnot. So yeah, I've only got 4 more sessions that I'm speaking at for this year, and then we go into 2023. I've got a bunch of stuff scheduled already. Now, I do want to share about this LinkedIn part 1 of 3. I've been teaching at this library for over 9 years.
Oh, wow.
So I want to show you how to get to 9 hours worth of free LinkedIn training, believe it or not. Yeah. But first, while I'm on this document, I'm going to go to the very, very bottom. And I just put out carousels, 14 of them so far, with commentary on Resume Strategies 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So here's part 1 to part 14. I do have a part 15 that's in my head. I just haven't created it yet. I've been so doggone busy. So hopefully these will help. And I didn't have these on this document before today because I thought this would be helpful. So let me show you where they are if also. So if you go to my profile, to all activity, and then you go to documents. It'll be in reverse chronological order.
This is great. This is really good.
So this is all free, access away. You'll see lots of commentary along with the decks, and you just click on the right-hand side. All right. And then, you'll get to all these things. So there's 14, 13, 12, all the way down to 1.
That sounds good. Now, I want to make sure that we have time for those in the viewing and listening audience to ask you specific questions, but this is the kind of
Let me show you
information-
where the 9 hours worth of free training is. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then I will take questions.
Okay,
So again, we're going to go on the link tree.
Oh, wonderful. Bye.
And hang on, let me do a mute again. All right. So here is this first tab is the Great Careers link tree. And if you go down on here, you'll see free LinkedIn workshops. Well, that's only with one library. It's not all the free workshops that I do.
Right.
So if you click on that, they have not built 2023 yet. So they've only built 2022. This is the last one, which is Saturday, December 17th. It's always the third Saturday of the month. So you're just going to click on this, you register with the library, and they will send you the Zoom link 8 o'clock in the morning, the day of. That's what
Right.
they do. They send it out once. So that's my story. What questions can I answer for everyone?
And what I'm going to do here, Lynn, is
Lynn, it's Joey Himmelfarb.
Yeah.
Lynn, what's the most important section of our LinkedIn profile if we're looking for work?
Oh, is there a most important?
Where should we focus our attention?
I'll chime
I'd
in
say at the
after
top.
if you go ahead, Lynn. I'll chime in after that, and I think probably Alex has a thought on that too. And go ahead.
Yeah, at the top, you need to have a customized banner so that, you look like you got it together with who you are and what you represent, and your keywords and key titles and unique selling proposition in the headline. Why? Because if you think about a newspaper, the newspaper is what sells, the headline. It's the top of the fold. When you go to a website, you want to have the right information at the top before you scroll down. So I kind of treat LinkedIn the same way. Is you want to make sure the top of the fold is going to attract people's attention if there's humans looking at it, but those keywords and whatnot in your headline are one of the areas where recruiters can search.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, and Joey, from my perspective, and this is now a marketing advertising guy talking, not a career coach, but it's all in the headlines. And it's what is it in the headlines that's going to compel you or me or anybody else to scroll down further or even read further from what you already see, even if it's above the fold. And then the second most important thing to me, at least in LinkedIn, is the about section, because that's where you have the ability, if somebody's decided to read that far, to give an overview of what you really provide in terms of value, as opposed to just the headline, keyword phrases that are up there. But both, to me, those are like 1 and 1A.
Great, thanks.
So just as an FYI, I was very honored this morning, along with Ken Lang and many, many others. I was added to the list of 50 international LinkedIn experts, or whatever the title was. I posted that. That's my latest post on LinkedIn. So that was awesome, because I only do this part-time. I do client work part-time because I do my dissertation part-time, and I probably do my volunteer work at the Great Careers Group probably full-time.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. I mean, that's,
thank you.
short of a plaque, that is certainly a notable achievement and recognition for all the good work that you've been doing over the years.
Well, it's not just me. There's lots of other, major players like Brenda Miller and Ken
Yeah.
Lang, and
Yeah, right.
especially Richard Vanderblom. You guys should follow him because he just wrote an algorithm report, and he's got a lot of goodness that he shares. I learn a lot from him.
That's great. That's
Hi,
great.
Lynn.
Then I want to
Tony
make a
here.
comment, if I may.
Yep.
Sure.
First of all, Lynn is terrific. She is a wealth of knowledge. Lynn said that LinkedIn is a database, which it is. I happen to agree. But every coin has two sides. You can look at LinkedIn from another angle. I look at LinkedIn not only as keywords and so forth, but it's a marketing tool. And marketing,
right.
under the word marketing, there are several sections. One of them is called branding.
That's right.
A gentleman asked earlier, what you need to write, in which section is important? Well, I think you need to use LinkedIn as a marketing tool. I adapted the term, the landing expert. So everywhere you see my name, it's always Alex Freund, the landing expert. As you can see on your screen, you see my name and it says interview coach. Again, you always need to brand yourself. The people will not remember 4 days from now what did that person say, but they will remember the image you created.
Yes.
Very important.
It's like in marketing parlance, the purple cow. You could drive to work for 25 years past cow fields and never see a purple cow, but when you do, you're going to remember it. And the key thing, at least from my standpoint, again, this is a marketing advertising perspective, is not so much that it's unique, but it's also compelling. And what is it? And compelling and meaningful to the person or the target audience of people that's reviewing it. That's when you've hit the mark.
Yeah, you got to be memorable. So, I mean, that's why I like, a vivid image, if you can create one. So I have clients who have, if you look at my recommendations, you can look at some of the profiles. I didn't do all the profiles. Some of them I just did resumes, but you'll
Right.
get the gist of some of the unique selling proposition. But I only started doing that a few months ago. So that's something new.
Yeah, and again, marketing, advertising, not necessarily career coaching, but it all falls under the heading of branding.
Yeah. Yep.
There's the unique selling proposition, and this goes back probably 30 years, and then the unique feeling proposition. What emotionally do you connect with as it relates to the product or service? And FYI, you as a job search candidate are the product and the service in this conversation. And the unique selling proposition, unique feeling proposition, then create the unique value proposition, which is the umbrella over both. And again, there's so much overlap in terms of what you brought up, Alex, and related to branding.
Yeah.
And Lynn, you mentioned it too. Behind the picture, there's this banner. If your banner is some random picture from the middle of nowhere that has no, it's the right way to say this, that has no relevance to what it is that you're trying to communicate, then you need to change it. It needs to be in sync.
I'm all about Canva, and I've got some Canva workshops coming up in 2023.
Okay.
It's not just, an image, but I believe in putting people's names and reiterating what it is that they do on
Yes.
that banner.
Yes.
So that's kind of my jam. A picture's worth 1,000 words, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate those keywords. And another thing is, if you somebody mentioned something about gaps. So if you have a gap, you might also want to create a company page for yourself, so that you can fill that gap, so you have a present job in LinkedIn. And it could say seeking new opportunity,
Yes.
#ONO, #open to work. So that's another strategy. And again, you need a banner and a logo of some sort for that company page.
100%. And, all this is, the combination of perspectives that have been on this Zoom call today, and will be on coming up with Alex, Harry, my best friend from grad school, Alan Kirshner, Kristen Engen, and Cassandra Robertson. I wanted to get people with different perspectives, but I didn't realize how much they would integrate together until like what you're doing here,
Yeah.
Lynn, and just, you know, again, connecting all the dots, which has been great. So if there are any other questions for Lynn, just please put them in the chat, or I think I can take everybody off mute here. You're now unmuted. And
Bill,
we'll-
one more word. Branding
Yeah.
is what enhances your value to justify your hiring. They will
Yes.
hire you because they see value in you. Value is something relative.
Right.
A is more valuable than B, and so forth. So you want a high value, and how do you get that? Through your branding.
Well,
So
and
Alex, when are you doing your next branding presentation? Alex does a fabulous branding presentation.
Thank you.
Is that coming up anytime soon?
No, actually, I reduced my presentations. I do it exclusively via Zoom. And I don't want to say I'm a prima donna, but you know, I'm happy, very happy to make presentations to large groups. I'm very unhappy to do it to 5 people. And especially three of those keep their cameras off.
yeah.
I did a presentation on this week, actually Monday, I think it was, in Dallas, Fort Worth. 38 out of 40 people, 38 people had their camera on. And guess what? It was 7 a.m. in Dallas, 8 a.m. here.
Mhm.
And they were so engaged. And this was so attractive for me because I felt like in the good olden days that I was on stage and people participated.
Yeah, for the
Exactly.
good old days.
It's very lonely
Exactly.
to make a presentation on Zoom when people keep their cameras off.
That's it. All right. So everybody is able to unmute themselves and have any conversation with Lynn. I'm going to turn the recording off. And again, thank you, Lynn, for taking the time today and for your perspective on this.
Thank you for having me.